No problem.
Oh, maybe it's only no, it's only to Facebook right now. Can
Okay.
you tell me if you're streaming right now on Facebook? That's the real question. You know, we're on the custom, which means we're everywhere.
Don't.
All right, I'm now going to mute everyone if I can find my participant list. As everyone knows, you can unmute yourself if you're a co-host. At the end of the meeting, we'll unmute everyone so you can all go back to chit-chatting. Tonight, we have a wonderful program. Cantor is going to be doing a song for a moment. We're going to have our religious school director and soon to be Rabbi Sam educate us. We are going to have a introduction, or really a summary of what we're doing this year's Mitzvah Month, not Mitzvah Day, by Karen Friedman. And then we have a couple guest speakers, Debbie Decker from West Valley Food Pantry, and Melanie Behringer from LAFH, Los Angeles, I believe, Family Housing. Is that correct? Rob Mulene is going to field some questions from people. Karen's going to give a couple announcements, another song by Cantor. And then if people want to check in more formally, you can stay online and talk to me or talk to me and Cantor and Sam. It's about how you've been doing over the last week. So we can have an idea of how people are being affected or not affected by all that is going on in the world. So I always start with a prayer. And at first I thought I was going to be doing a prayer about elections and prayer about changes and choices. And then I remembered that tonight, as the sun set, became the very sad anniversary of Kristallnacht. And we need to take a moment and remember that on the night of November 9th, going into November 10th, 1938, Germans participated in a Nazi-directed pogrom that became known as the Night of Broken Glass, Kristallnacht. Jewish-owned stores and buildings were ransacked. Hundreds of synagogues were burned down. Streets were ablaze with books on fire, and tens of thousands of Jews were sent to concentration camps. Kristallnacht, the Night of Broken Glass, we should never forget it. Sadly, we must always remember the terror, remember the destruction, remember the hate, remember the ignorance, remember the indifference of those who stood by and those who watched. We must remember to never forget the hope, determination, and endurance of our people when we know that we have truth and righteousness and goodness and justice on our side. I think a lot of these ideas translate into what's going on in the world today, that we need to know what is right. We need to know what is wrong. And no matter how great the forces of what is wrong seem to be, we need to remember to move forward to do good against all that wishes to tear down society. So let's take a moment of silence for those who, died in Kristallnacht, and for those who lived through Kristallnacht and underwent so many other tragedies. Baruch atah Adonai Dayan Hamet. May those who have passed, may their memories always be a strength to us. And together we say, Amen. As I said a few moments ago, I wasn't planning on starting this evening in such a low fashion, but Kristallnacht seems to be one of those things that we always seem to forget. And yet is really the start of so much tragedy and the start of so many people not looking at the problem, ignoring what was going on around them as Jews and other minority groups, fringe groups, were being hurt. So now, on that sad note, I'm going to turn it over to the Cantor. Maybe she has a livelier song for us to help brighten this night, or maybe she doesn't. I don't know what Noah has planned. Noah?
Well, it's a song of being together.
הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב ומה נעים, שבת אחים גם יחד. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לה 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 לה. הנה מה טוב, הנה מה טוב, לה 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 לה.
Okay, great to see you all. Good to be with you. As we said, Hine Matov. So at this community meeting this summer, I gave a teaching about two worlds outlined in Deuteronomy. And my hope then was that you might take this home, as many of you did. And I love that Saray and Herb, I don't know if they were able to join this call, but at that time they told me that they brought this teaching back to their intimate discussion group. And my hope was that you might ask yourself after that teaching, what do I want the world that emerges from the pandemic to look like? What are the ideals that it would exemplify? But then I didn't quite show us how to get there. So I first want to remind you of the text. I created this modeled after a traditional Jewish daf, a page where you have the core text in the middle and commentaries surrounding it. So let's pull that up briefly. Okay. Get rid of this guy. So I want to first start with the base text. We've got one verse that says, there shall be no needy among you, since the eternal your God will bless you in the land that the eternal your God is giving to you as a hereditary portion. But the next verse says, if, however, there is a needy person among you, one of your kinsmen in any of your settlements in the land that the eternal your God is giving you, do not harden your heart and shut your hand against your needy kinsman. And it continues, for there will never cease to be needy ones in your land, which is why I command you, open your hand to the poor and needy kinsmen in your land. So here the Torah outlines two worlds, a world of ideals and the real world. A world without poverty, and a world where poverty is a given. We also have dreams for this ideal world, and you do too. A democratic system of government that is no longer subverted, for example, racial, gender, and economic equality, peace, prosperity for all, you name it. But I want to draw your attention to a couple of quotes that I included in that sheet. So first, let's look at this one from Bobby Kennedy. Let no one be discouraged by the belief that there is nothing that one can do against the enormous array of the world's ill. Few will have the greatness to bend history itself, but each of us can work to change a small portion of events. And in the total of all those acts will be written the history of this generation. And I just wanted to add to that a rabbinic saying, it is not your duty to finish the work, but neither are you at liberty to neglect it. That's from Pirkei Avot. And so what is this work? What are the small acts that we hope to achieve? So I want to dedicate this teaching tonight, during our huge month of mitzvah, to a true giant of the Jewish world who passed this late Shabbat, just as our election results in the US came in, although he was from England, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, Zichrono Livracha. He contributed so much to Jewish thought and literature and to the larger international Jewish community. And I have not encountered a rabbi of this age who is quoted more. I was very lucky to have the opportunity to meet him during the last year of his life. And so I just did a quick search of mitzvot and his name, and I easily got this little gem that I want to share with you. Judaism's genius was to take high ideals and translate them into life by simple daily deeds. The way of mitzvot, acting in accordance with God's will. We do not just contemplate truth, we live it. We don't contemplate creation. I think he means just contemplate, because he was certainly a thinker. We don't just contemplate creation by studying theoretical physics. We live it by making a blessing over what we eat and drink, acknowledging God as the creator of all we enjoy. We don't just think about our responsibility for the environment. We keep Shabbat, setting a limit, 1 day in 7, to our exploitation of the world. We don't just study Jewish history. On the fasts and festivals, we reenact it. Truth becomes real when it becomes deed. That is how we transform the world. There are those who see the world as it is and accept it. That is the Stoic way. There are those who see the world as it is and flee from it. That is the mystic monastic way. But there are those who see the world as it is and change it. That is the Jewish way. We change it through mitzvot, holy deeds that bring a fragment of heaven down to earth. I think from Rabbi Sacks' statement, to do mitzvot is to affirm the fact that this world that we live in is imperfect and that we are willing to do something about it. My prayer for us is that this mitzvah month, we never take our eye off of that ideal world of our dreams, if only to do something small in God's name, a mitzvah for the betterment of this world, where the need is immediate, it is real, and it is within our reach. Can you hear Atzon? Maybe so. I'd like to hand it over to Karen Freeman, please.
All right, I signed on. I'm just sorry.
Karen, I just muted you. Where do you want to be unmuted? You'll have to unmute your phone, Karen. Karen,
Okay.
you're now a co-host on both.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm like the screen kept freezing, so I got on my phone just in case to be sure that you can see me. Sorry about that. Anyways, wow, what a beautiful sentiment from Erev Rabbi Rav, whatever, his Erev Rav Sam Klein. It was amazing to hear. We're really excited about Mitzvah Month, and I'm excited we're calling it Mitzvah Month. Want to share with those of you who have not seen what we've been doing. We have these blankets that we've made for my stuff bags, which goes to children in need. They get a bag full of things just for themselves. When a lot of times if people go to foster care, they're stuck with a plastic bag and whatever they can grab and throw into it. And this little bag, this little blanket is like the key to these bags. Every bag has a blanket, whether it's a teen child or a baby, they all get one of these. And so they're always in need of blankets. And if you are a knitter and you like to knit blankets, you can also bring knitted blankets on Sunday to the drop off. So Mitzvah Day started last week. We had a big drive-through celebration, and we dropped off over 1,000 mitzvahs, and within less than an hour, people really responded well. And it was really wonderful to see you all come out. And if you didn't get a chance to be a part of the mitzvah pickup. We have other projects you can do right from the comfort of your home. Just call the temple office or look on Mitzvah Day's website, which is kultikva.org/mitzvah day. And you can do most of those projects at home. We just today turned this paracord, these like long 7.5-foot cord, into this kind of bracelet, which is something they use for first responders for Operation Gratitude. And we had people from all ages that are making this. So it's the skill level is a little challenging, but you can all do it. Not too challenging for us Kultikva mitzvah makers. Okay, so I want to introduce, I'm really excited to have two wonderful speakers here today. And I want to introduce them. But hold on, it's right here. I just lost it. Sorry. I want to introduce them and thank them for coming. But first and foremost, I want to thank Carol Fisher for arranging for our West Valley Food Pantry speaker, who is Debbie Decker and is the executive director. I will talk about Debbie Decker in 1 second. I also like to thank Jessica Deschelle for arranging to have a representative from LA Family Housing come to speak to us today, and that is Melanie Berenger, who is the community engagement manager. So I'll start off with Melanie Berenger. She is the community engagement manager for LA Family Housing. In her role, she enjoys engaging the community in meaningful volunteer and in-kind giving opportunities and working with the public on better understanding of homelessness in the community. And she wrote a little bit about what they do, but she's going to tell us about it also. And that's what we're collecting is our toiletries for their welcome home baskets, and she's going to talk to you about that. And then we'll hear from Debbie. First, we're going to hear from Debbie Decker, and Debbie Decker is our community partner at the food pantry, the West Valley Food Pantry. She has been employed there since 2013. Prior to that, she was a program manager and resource developer for Interfaith Refugee and Immigration Service in Los Angeles. She's a speech pathologist by education and has held a wide range of jobs during her lifetime. She's worked for over 11, she worked as a teacher for over 11 years, a buyer for a major department store chain, and a loan officer at Bank of America. And now she's the executive director at the West Valley Food Pantry that serves so many people in our community. I think the current statistic is 1 in every 5 families are food insecure. So the work they do there is super important, and we're really proud to be partnering with both of these organizations for Mitzvah Day and in life. So I would like to introduce right now Debbie Decker from West Valley Food Pantry to tell us a little bit about what happens with our Thanksgiving project bags as they receive them, what happens to them next, and why this is such a great project. And anything else you want to share, Debbie, you're welcome to share. And can you I think you can unmute if you just hit unmute.
I just made her co-host. She should be able to unmute now.
Okay. I did not put together a PowerPoint presentation to show you statistics, but I will certainly share those. Rabbi John, thank you. The day of glass, the night of glass really affects me. I have felt for the last 9 months that we have been living in Los Angeles, which is made of glass right now. So much tragedy, so much hurt, so much brokenness that we see daily. Back in the dark ages, BC, before COVID, we were seeing about 3,500 people a month, most of them seniors. The second population was homeless, and the third section was young families. But the seniors were the predominant people that we were seeing. And that has shifted dramatically in the 9 months. It almost shifted overnight in March, where most of the clients now are young families with children. We didn't used to collect diapers. We didn't used to give them out. They weren't needed. Depends were needed, but not diapers. And now most of the cars going through our line getting food are also getting diapers from us, because there are car seats in almost all of the cars. And when you think about all the children that are home that were dependent on food that was given in their public school, they're now, and the parents were struggling and all they had to do was feed them dinner. Now these out of work parents are having to come up with food 3 meals a day for these children. And the statistic right now is 1 in 7 children in the Los Angeles area are going hungry. They're going to bed hungry. It is serious that 1 in 10 seniors are going to bed hungry every night. Our numbers went from 3,500 in February to between 13 and 14,000 every month. We have now, over the last 9 months, fed over 108,000 people in Woodland Hills. We are located in Woodland Hills, and we have fed 108,000 people. I cannot even, if you had asked me in January, I really would have told you you were imagining things, but we have truly created a miracle. Kol Tikva has been a huge part of that miracle. I don't want to minimize the participation at all. You have been amazing to the pantry so far. You really have. The donations that have come in monthly, the donations that have come in even bi-monthly. We have regular donors from Kol Tikva. It's been an amazing blossoming of, you've always supported us for 35 years. You've been supporting the pantry, but in the last 9 months, it has been an extraordinary outreach from Kol Tikva, and I can't, from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. The need is great. 2 weeks ago, our numbers started dropping, and I was feeling really encouraged. I thought this was really good. When our numbers drop, that means people don't need us. And our numbers were dropping to less than 100 cars a day. Carol Fisher is one of the people who does our data entry input, and she was very happy to see fewer numbers because she was entering some of the clients and not having to work so hard. And then about 2.5 weeks ago, I don't know what happened. Somebody flipped a switch, and the need started growing again. And we have not had a day where we've not had anywhere from 110 to 130 cars every day going through our parking lot. We're open 5 days a week from 9:30 in the morning to the public. We're open from 9:30 till 2. And during those hours, we're seeing anywhere from 105 to 135 cars. And there are multiple families in a car. So the neighbor will bring her, the 2 neighbors will drive together. So there's multiple families in these cars, and we're also seeing the homeless. So we have a walk-up window for them. We have a drive-through for those that are driving through to pick up food. We're not really seeing people face-to-face anymore. They are calling, they are emailing us, they are participating on Facebook. So we are having contact, but it's not really the face-to-face, more compassionate way we used to be able to help people and listen to stories. We do get the stories, they're just not quite as close contact. Now they're on the phone mostly. People are really worried right now. They're facing eviction after January. The rent moratorium is coming to an end unless the city or the state does something. But we now have, and I'm sure Melanie will talk to this shortly, but we have over 66,000 homeless on the streets now. And now we're looking at families looking at eviction and living in cars. And to me, this is a tragedy. And by feeding them, giving them a week's worth of groceries, it stretches their budget just a little bit more. It's money they don't have to lay out on food. And in that way, we are making a difference, not just feeding empty tummies. We're actually helping stretch a very, very limited budget. So anything, we have Thanksgiving coming up. One of the things I did send to Karen earlier today was a couple of flyers. One of them, I do have an updated one now, Karen. It was a little late, so I didn't get you the pretty one. But I have a prettier one coming if you'd like to send that out to everybody. So we have a fall looking one. I don't know if you can see it. No, you can't. It doesn't show because I have my background on, but I have a prettier one coming out. So I will send that to you tomorrow, Karen. But it has all the items that we need for Thanksgiving, because Thanksgiving is something that is going to be really hard for people to afford. And so we're asking for Thanksgiving items for mitzvah. If you could, the stuffing and then instant mashed potatoes, green beans, yams, all the things that we all traditionally have for our Thanksgiving meal. So that's kind of what we're looking for right now, is those items for a Thanksgiving meal. There are places, we will be giving out some turkeys. We don't have very many coming, but we do have some. And so if anybody has an extra turkey when they go to the grocery store, they want to donate that. We do have a walk-in cooler, so we can absolutely keep them frozen to give out later on as the bigger families come through. So that's what the ask for mitzvah is. I want to remind everybody that we do have our toy event coming up. So another flyer went out. Karen got that one, and that is for December. That's coming, I think, at the end of Hanukkah. I think it's going to be the 12th and 13th is when the event is, and we need the toys in by December 10th. So we're focusing, last year we gave toys to about 1,000 children. And with the humongous increase in families, young families, we're expecting at least 2,000 this time. So we do need toys. You can give us cash and we'll buy it. Just put on the check for toys, holiday toys, or you can give us gift cards, either Amazon, Target, or Walmart, and we'll be able to purchase the toys using those. And we'll be able to help 2,000 kids have a holiday. And so those are the two needs right now. And I open to questions now. Oh, volunteering. I forgot to talk about volunteering. If you would like to volunteer, we are doing safe distancing. We have, in 9 months, we have not had one incident of COVID on our campus, and we are keeping it that way. So you must be masked. We will provide gloves. You stay 6 feet away from everybody. And so we schedule, and we don't want people just showing up. You have to be on the schedule. It's the only way we can appropriate enough space, even though we're functioning mostly on a parking lot. We do need help stuffing those Thanksgiving bags. So we're only going to have 3 to 4 people coming into this big hall and stuffing the bags, and 3 or 4 at a time. So if you would like to get a couple of people together and volunteer, we can give you a link and you can sign up for that, and we'll get you scheduled to come in. We only do it in the mornings. And again, safe distancing, masks, gloves. Don't show up without being scheduled. Okay, so we want to keep everybody healthy. And that's it. Anybody have anything, questions?
Rob, do you want to take the questions for the food for Debbie Decker and the food pantry, and then we'll introduce our next speaker?
Sure, be more than happy to do so. Debbie, thank you for your presentation. And I do have to ask if your virtual background is the home of Will Rogers in the Palisades.
Do you know, I don't know.
Okay.
I have a very messy bookcase behind me. And I had a few comments on other Zoom meetings about when I was going to clean it up. So I decided to since that wasn't happening because I'm never home, I decided to get an artificial background. And I happen to love libraries. And so that's what that is. I don't know whose it is. I love it, though.
Well, it looks very nice and very cozy on a cold
Yes.
day, cold evening. How many families do you anticipate will be serviced and receive a Thanksgiving bag?
We've already been giving them out for a week, and I bought for 2,200 people, and we only have enough for this week. We will be out on Friday, and we're missing a day because we're closed day after tomorrow. So I would imagine by the time we hit Thanksgiving, it'll be well over 4,000.
Wow. Do you need help distributing those? I would imagine that's just the general volunteer. And can people just show up to volunteer, or do we need to have them sign up? And if so, how do they do that?
Okay, if you go to our website, which is westvalleyfoodpantry.org, click on the volunteer page and fill out the volunteer form. And there's a little note form, and put in there, you're from Kol Tikva and would like to volunteer stuffing bags. there's anything else you would like to do, there's a whole list of things you can volunteer for. But if you specifically want to do the Thanksgiving bags, then put that in the little note sheet and we'll schedule you for that.
Okay, excellent. And we do have a toy drive on December the 6th at Kol Tikva. And the toys can be dropped off before and up until December 9th. What is your deadline for getting those toys over to you?
The 10th. And
The
I know
10th.
the
Okay.
10th. And I know a lot of you know Jesse Gabriel. He named us. I didn't even mention that we were named the 2020 California Nonprofit of the Year. I probably should have started with that because it's pretty spectacular. So we are the 2020 Nonprofit of the Year for California. And that was thanks to Jesse Gabriel. And he is going to have his holiday party in our parking lot because he can't do it in an enclosed space. So he's having his holiday party. So if anybody is going to come and drive through and meet or greet Assemblyman Jesse Gabriel, he will be at our site at 3:30 in the afternoon on the 10th. You can bring your toys then if you've forgotten beforehand. I know Carol and Herm will be bringing over toys prior to that. So, but if you wanted to kill two birds with one stone, you can meet Jesse and say hi to him and his staff and drop off a toy. I will be there too, grabbing the toys and putting them in our storage shed to be sorted the following morning.
And should those toys be wrapped or unwrapped?
Unwrapped.
And do we have any specific needs age-wise or equal distribution for boys and girls?
Equal distribution for boys and girls. To be honest with you, we're focusing on 12 years of age and under. They're the ones, the little ones really don't understand why holidays are so hard, why there's no plenty, you know, during the holidays. And so when they're looking at their menorah, why aren't there 8 days of gifts there? Why don't they have theirs? And so it's a really hard time for young children to understand the poverty. They don't get it. And so we're really focusing, used to be that we kind of focused on the teens because the teens were our biggest population, but now it's the little ones. So we're kind of hoping that we have a whole bunch of things that are between, say, the ages of 5 and 10. We're extending our age up to the 6th grade. I think that's 11, 12-ish area. Okay. And so we're going 1 through 12, basically.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we want to thank you for participating here. Let's move on to our next speaker, Melanie, and we'll see if there's other questions that may come up for the West Valley Food Pantry. We're very, very pleased to be a founding member, I believe, yes, of the pantry. And
yes.
So Karen, why don't you go ahead and introduce Melanie now. Thank you, Debbie.
Okay, so we are really excited to have Melanie Berenger here from LA Family Housing. And thank you, Debbie Decker. It was wonderful to hear you speak and very inspiring. Melanie comes to us from LA Family Housing, thanking Jessica Deschelle for arranging to have Melanie be here tonight. And we are so pleased to be a part of your organization as well. And I'm going to just turn it over to you so we can, for the interest of time, because I did already do your bio, but I just want to give you as much time as possible to speak to our community and to talk about this wonderful project of the Welcome Kits that we're participating in. I think they'd love to see, you know, where this goes and how it helps these families and what you do with it. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and thank you everybody here for being a part of the LA Family Housing team for so long. I know that we've partnered in the past and we're always really grateful for your support. As Debbie was mentioning, we're seeing a lot of similar things. It's been a really tough year. I don't need to tell everybody that, but it's true that we had over 66,000 people experiencing homelessness at the beginning of the year. That's based off of a point in time count that we do in January. So that number was in January. We don't have an updated number, though we will be doing another count this January. We expect that to be much higher. So LA Family Housing is unique in that we are an agency that provides homeless services to people throughout their journey. and to all populations. So you might come across other homeless service agencies that serve primarily families or primarily women or veterans. We serve everybody, and we serve them along every step of the journey, from intake to interim housing to housing navigation to stabilization once they found housing. So we're really have the ability and the opportunity to work with people over a long period of time, which I think is what makes us so successful, that we can really get to know our participants and understand their needs and how we can best serve them. So recently, well, not recently, time has no meaning anymore, but at the beginning of the COVID pandemic, we partnered with the state to open 5 Project Room Key sites. And those are reclaimed hotels and motels that we've turned into places where people who were formerly living outside but are high risk for negative outcomes to COVID can stay with us and socially isolate. They're each given 1 hotel room. And, or if it's a family, 1 family will be in a hotel room. We have different hotels for families to keep the populations a little separate, but they're given a hotel room. We also have on-site medical care, mental health care. We offer toiletries and clothing, 3 meals a day, kind of everything you can need. And what's really exciting is we have housing navigation at these places too. So people are coming from the street to Project Room Key sites. And then from there, they're entering permanent housing a lot of the time. So last year we served over 11,000 people in their journey from homelessness to permanent housing. This year we can't say exactly how many we'll be serving, but we expect that it'll be much higher than that. And every time an individual or a family moves from interim housing or a Project Room Key site, or maybe they're staying outside and we find them permanent housing, we like to not only help them find that space and offer them supportive services along the way, but we like to send them with a welcome home basket. So that's a laundry basket that's filled with all the basic necessities that you need when you're first starting up a home. So I don't know if anybody here has moved recently, but I kind of did a little while ago, and you don't think about how expensive it is to move into a new home. But when you get there, you need to buy plates, you need to buy glasses, you need to buy all the hygiene items that you're going to use in this new space. A bath mat, a laundry hamper, and all of these things really add up. You know, you go to Target and you're like, how did I spend $500? That's every time you go to Target, but you know, how did I spend $500 here? And a lot of our people don't have that kind of financial ability to pay for that. So these welcome home baskets really go a long way, and just making sure that people can feel at home right away. Because the journey from homelessness to permanently housed is an emotional one, and we want to make sure that people have everything they need for success. So with your donation of hygiene items that we use to put into the welcome home baskets, you're really making sure that either an individual or a family who has been experiencing homelessness, sometimes for years, is now off on the right foot, and they can feel clean and their best when they start their new life in this journey. So we're really excited to partner with you on it. It's going to make a really big difference in the lives of our participants. I'm also happy to answer any questions. And yeah, thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you, Melanie. Appreciate your time and presentation. Recently, I learned Councilman Bob Blumenfield had organized a Bobcat task force to help remove those who were homeless and living under freeway overpasses or underpasses in his district. Have you worked with him on that? Has that been effective? And
yeah,
any further info on that?
So a little background on that. One of the reasons that there's been a large focus on communities living under the underpasses is because there was a California judge decision that those are the people experiencing homelessness that need to be served first. So it's a little tricky because there's a lot of ways to decide who should be served first and who should be prioritized. At LA Family Housing, we use the coordinated entry system, which is a program that keeps track of everybody experiencing homelessness, but it also takes into account their need level and their risk factors. So the approach that we usually take is to serve people with the highest need first and the people with the highest risk factors. When you throw COVID into the mix, it also means that we should be focusing on the people who have the highest chance of negative outcomes due to COVID. And when we look at the communities living under underpasses, those are usually younger people. So they're not necessarily the highest risk. So all that is to say, that was a lot of background. We are working together with the county to serve people who are currently staying under underpasses. and making sure that they're in our system, seeing what their risk factors are and if they qualify for project room key sites. But we're also trying to balance that with competing priorities to also serve people who, might be older, they might have other chronic health conditions, families. We always want to focus on families. Our name is LA Family Housing, but we try to prioritize families as well. So we do work with those other agencies, and our outreach workers are oftentimes connecting with people under underpasses, but it's not our first priority of care.
What about the hotel program? You mentioned that will be ending. When will it end, and what happens to the families afterwards?
Yeah, so it's not actually necessarily ending. We applied to and won the contract to purchase 2 of those hotels. Some of the other hotels will be operated by other homeless service agencies, but prior to this, we were housing families in motels. We have 5 bridge housing sites for families. So those are structures that are made for housing families who are experiencing homelessness. We also were using motels when we exceeded the capacity of those structures. So we are going to continue to operate 2 of those project room key sites, and some of them will turn back into motels. We can't keep the motel forever. Got to give it back to the owner. But a lot of them throughout the county are going to continue to serve as interim housing for people.
With the recent change in the weather, we're reminded of the even colder weather still to come and the rainy weather still to come. Mm-hmm. Will there be perhaps an increase in rooms that will be available when the weather does turn?
So we don't operate any cold weather shelters. That was something that we used to do in the past, but our goal right now is to offer continuous housing 365 days a year. So we actually recently converted a cold weather shelter that was functioning in the Sylmar area into a women's shelter that's functioning year round. So while we do wish that we could house everybody during cold weather months, we think it's important that those same people that have shelter during the winter continue to have the ability to be sheltered throughout the year. So we do have space for over 3,000 people in temporary housing. And we are opening another location in Canoga Park in early January. So we will be housing more people that way.
There's a question that's come through, which I'm going to credit the questioner rather than having people think of me as being so wise. It's from Rabbi John. How should we respond to those who view the homeless as the other?
That is a really good question, a really important one, I think. And I think it's one that we should also ask ourselves, because I know that before I started working in homeless services, and even still day to day when I'm out and about in the city of Los Angeles, I do sometimes find myself viewing people that have the misfortune of living outside as different from myself. So I think what we all have to keep in mind when we're approaching people who might have a negative outlook towards people experiencing homelessness is that there are a lot of different causes for homelessness in a person's life. And oftentimes the people that we're seeing who are outside on the street and might be the people that you see in Skid Row or in the underpasses, those are people who have been failed along the way by a lot of different systems in our country. So we always say that homelessness is kind of the last stop of social services. These are people who have maybe been failed by our incarceration system, by our education system. A lot of them have aged out of foster care and didn't have the supportive services that they need when they did so. A lot of them are people who are veterans and were failed by that system as well. So it's important to keep in mind that as a person with a warm bed, I have a certain degree of privilege. And so when I'm approaching those who are on the street, I don't know what their story is, but I can only assume that they've had some kind of misfortune along the way.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Any thoughts on the pallet or tiny homes?
Yeah, I love those. I'm a big fan of tiny homes just in general for everybody. At LA Family Housing, we're not building tiny homes ourselves. We are looking into modular homes, but it's not something that we're pursuing, but we're really excited to see what other agencies are doing in that field. I think, there's a million different creative responses right now to the homelessness crisis, and I'm looking forward to seeing which ones are the most successful. I think we can all learn from each other.
And Joe had inquired if we are in or around Canoga Park, can we drop off supplies there? What would be the address, or is there a phone number perhaps?
Yeah, so it's not open yet, but we do ask that all donations come through our Irmis Family Campus in North Hollywood. I know you might be closer to the Canoga Park location.
Right.
It's just that we have a lot of competing needs. So it's best for us if we receive everything in one location, and then we can kind of triage what goes where. And I have a donation team that I have the pleasure of supervising, and it's a small team. So we've just asked that everything come to one space, and then we can distribute it from there.
What I'd like to suggest to you and to Debbie both is perhaps you can put contact information into the chat box, so everyone will have that and be able to have the resources to contact you with their generosity. Karen, I think we've run over a little bit our time, so I'm going to head it back over to you. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Melanie, both for being here tonight, sharing with our community the wonderful work you're doing and how we're able to help participate in that wonderful work. Thank you.
This is so moving. I hope everyone's okay with us going a little bit over. Sorry, we might go a little past the full hour, and I can look at the chat and see if we decide what we're going to cut out. I do want to tell you about a couple of upcoming events, one of them directly affecting this conversation, and that is Mitzvah Day. The pickup is this Sunday. So when you come on Sunday, any of your projects that you've done, if you couldn't do them, if those paracord bracelets were too hard or any of that stuff, just bring them, because we've got lots of people who can do them. And a lot of teenagers, they get hours for this. So if you're struggling to do some of this stuff, please don't be hesitant to turn in partial credit. Like there's no credit here. We just want whatever you have. And if you can take care of your collections, all the lists that they asked for from LA Family Housing and from West Valley Food Pantry, as well as Sisters on the Street, is in the bags. So just if you can fill those out and bring them on Sunday, and we start at 11:30, it's going to be a great celebration, and just hoping for a great show from everyone in the community to participate at whatever level you can. I mean, if it's one thing, that's one mitzvah that we've gotten to, and we're trying to do 1,000 mitzvahs in one day. So hopefully you guys can all help us. I do want to tell you that this Friday is Veterans Day Shabbat and Family Shabbat. We will have the services led by, of course, Rabbi John and Cantor Noah, but also by Sam Klein, our religious school director, and Samantha Duanius, our experiential education director, and our religious school kids. And they're going to do a great job inspiring all of us and celebrating our veterans. And it should be wonderful. I think there's going to be a really touching tribute, and I hope to see everyone on Friday night. Do you want to tell you about 3 things to save the date for, because I don't know when we're meeting again next on this kind of level. And one is Thanksgiving. Have a great Thanksgiving, and think of others in the community, but have a great Thanksgiving on Thursday, the 26th. The day after Thanksgiving is the national holiday for some people who like to shop. And we're going to ask you to shop with us at our silent auction that is going to benefit our educational programs. So please look for the emails about our Black Friday Hanukkah online shopping to benefit education. And after all that shopping you've done all weekend and you want to do something great, Giving Tuesday was a program that was created to remind us to do business with local businesses and to support your local nonprofit organizations and your favorite charities. So please think about us. We have a generous donor who's going to give us $5,000 if we reach the same amount of donations as we had last year, which was 200 gifts. Oh. Sorry about that. So if we get 200 gifts at any size, doesn't matter how much it is, we'll get a $5,000 matching gift, which is very nice and very generous. Lastly, our big fundraiser of the year is the education fundraiser on December 6th, and that is where we'll have the toy drive, which Debbie Decker was discussing, for West Valley Food Pantry. It's going to be a drive-through extravaganza, fun for every age. You don't have to be a family, you can be an individual and enjoy this nice excuse to get out and have fun and drive through. There'll be prizes. You can win a TV. You can win not raffle tickets, to win lottery tickets and all kinds of great stuff. That's all coming out, but I just want to keep you in the loop and to know this is happening. And I know we got to hurry. So that's it for me. I'm going to pass it over to Cantor so we can hear beautiful songs. And thank you guys so much for coming.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל, ואמרו אמן. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל.
I'm now going to unmute everyone. Everyone can talk to one another. And then if anyone wants to stay on just for a longer conversation, we can. You can now unmute yourselves though, and I'll just see how many people are left in 2 or 3 minutes if they'd like to talk.
Thank you to our guest again for being here with us tonight.
Yes, thank you.
Really inspirational.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
Great.
for having us.
Okay, well, bye.
Bye.
Okay.
Is Melanie still on the line?
She is not. She had to hop off, but I'm happy to relay any messages.
No, what, as somebody who lives in the Canoga Park area, we would like to see whatever we do go to that area. So since it's not open yet, I guess I'll call her and see how we can make that happen.
Yeah, ask the question. I do know that most of these places do kind of need to divvy up stuff, but I would certainly ask the question.
Yeah, well, we're seeing it under the underpass again, and also, yeah.
Okay.
And
I'm part of the Bobcats, which is Bob Blumenfield's homeless committee. He's got a little homeless committee, and I'm on that. And I know that the shelter, the bridge housing in Canoga Park is opening. It's scheduled to open in January.
Okay.
So, and I know LA Family Housing is a part of that. So if you, I have
okay,
looked to that area, but you could designate it for the opening.
Okay, great. That's great. Thank you, Deb. And Debbie, is there a minimum you're looking at present-wise, you know, for the toys?
You know, usually, yes. We usually ask for $20, $25 per
Right.
person. I got to tell you that if we have smaller priced items, we'll group them together. So if there's
Perfect.
a
Okay.
price item,
Yeah, like Play-Doh and the watercolors and all of that stuff. Okay, great.
and we'll group them together so that
Perfect.
everybody goes away with something of similar value.
Okay, great.
Debbie, I have a question. Carol, did I cut you off? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, you did. Do you know if, for the housing things, whether they can use household items like mugs and glasses and, you know, anything, cookware, anything extra that we may have that
So
I used to always give it to Goodwill.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, good point, Carol. Yeah.
Yeah.
They
And
generally
I'll be
ask
honest
for
with you,
stuff for
I-
their welcome baskets. But for these interim housing, I don't know the answer to. So I would certainly, again, I would give it straight to Melanie. I have, I met Melanie through volunteering at one of their bridge homes. I love to go and spend time with these kids, and I do Halloween projects, Thanksgiving projects, and then the moms can go and do what they need to do after school. So it's like my thing that I like to do. So that's how I met Melanie. And so I don't know the answer to a lot of those questions.
That's a good question, Carol. I'll be getting rid of a lot of that kind of stuff. So that's
yeah.
that'd be good to know.
I think going through cabinets and things
Yeah.
in this COVID purge.
And honestly,
Yeah.
I'll say for your mitzvah project where they're doing the welcome home, that would be a really great, an ask for Melanie. I know a lot of the people who are going into bridge housing or into the room key housing probably couldn't use that stuff yet. However, the ones going into permanent housing can.
Mhm.
And so, she may have something that she'd like to direct that to.
Well, even paper goods, you know.
Well, paper goods they take, that's different.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, like, you know, a
But if they're
retired
not
teacher has a lot of coffee mugs they don't need.
Yeah.
Well, how many sets of glasses have you received as
A
gifts?
lot of that too, yeah.
She's very fast on the email return. So, and I will send that out in the email blast as well.
Thank you.
Everybody has it.
My question is to Debbie. Do you prefer food or do you prefer money?
Yes.
She's not particular.
And I ask because you've seen me. I volunteer there on Thursdays.
Pam is there all the time. I love you.
Love you too. And my question is, I know we get a lot of hodgepodge mishmash stuff, and I think it might be, you know, for people, instead of going to the grocery store and buying a hodgepodge, especially the food pantry has a good relationship with Smart and Final and gets discounts. So sometimes I think it might be better to just write the food pantry a check.
Yeah.
That you can use that more efficiently.
Don't you get more for the buck than we do?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Exactly.
You know, and not only that that we don't broadcast this a lot, but Smart and Final actually has a foundation. So they not only give us a discount on the prices when they sell us stuff, but many times the foundation will match my purchase.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
And so we get a whole lot of freebies. So if I order whole chickens, which is what I'm looking to do in December, is to try and order a whole lot of chicken, is if I do that, then I know that the foundation will come along and kick in. So maybe I order 1,000 whole chickens, and then they'll send me another 2,500. They'll send me another, 250 for free. So it's, so sometimes, thank you, Pam, money really
Yes.
does.
Now, does that go for the kids' gifts too?
Well, not for Smart and Final, but money.
No, yeah.
Money, absolutely. If somebody writes us a check or goes on to PayPal and says, I want the money to go towards toys, then we absolutely will spend that money on the toys.
Perfect. Okay.
And you'll get more bang for your buck than we would out at Target.
Right. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So give money, everybody. That's
Yes.
my point.
Yes.
I'm gonna,
No, I
I'm
did that
gonna
last
leave right
time.
now, so goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
My husband has to get to a food pantry meeting.